Hello, this is Bob from GoPlayThat coming at you from a non-live video for a change. I'm going to be talking about a little game that I got myself over the Christmas and January sales for the PlayStation Network called Hand of Fate. I'm going to admit that when I first purchased it, I was skeptical, I thought that this was gonna be like a glorified Eye of Judgment. Remember Eye of Judgment, that PS3 game that you were supposed to play with the PlayStation Eye, where your monsters that you placed on your deck or on your, let's say, on the board, they would come to life and they would fight and such, and I was expecting something like this, but boy was I mistaken. I've been actually trying to record several things about how this game works and what to say about this game, and I just figured out that after several attempts it is incredibly complicated to do so. So let's just start from the beginning. What exactly is Hand of Fate? Some would say, and the way it is presented to you is that it is a card game, and it's actually not wrong, but in fact it feels like more of a roguelike RPG, which is fantastic, because if you look at it, the way it's presented is just magical. You are supposed to be challenging this powerful wizard that is sitting in front of you, let's just call it the dealer, because I don't think he has a name. And he's going to be presenting you several dungeons with a champion in the end that you have to defeat in order to progress. I'm not really sure exactly why, but at this point I've been dying like maybe 6 already, and I just don't really care about my quest anymore. I'm having so much fun that it's just irrelevant by now. I'm guessing it will be revealed at some point, but yeah. As you speak to the dealer and you figure out exactly what the layout of the dungeon is, because he's going to be laying it out for you in front of you, we want to choose where do you want to go and progress through the dungeon. And each one of these cards that are currently face down on the table contain an event. It can be like, yeah, you encounter a character that helps you out, or you can encounter an enemy that ambushes you, or just a store where you can spend your gold, and so on. Just like a pure role-playing game on the tabletop fashion, which is unexpected. I didn't really expect to find this way. Every time that you move your character one step, you consume one food. And food at this point of the game, it has not really been that relevant, but on endless mode, because this game also of course contains an endless mode, that might be a little bit more important to it, So generally when you encounter an action stage, you will face it with your starting gear, which resets with every dungeon that you start, So every time that you face the dealer, everything is gone and you have to start from scratch, again lurking the dungeon and trying to find the pieces of gear that made you powerful in order to beat those enemies. The action stages are not particularly flashy or special or something, but it actually makes it all the more meaningful that you are collecting all this loot from the dungeon and making yourself more powerful with items that you are, I don't know, encountering here and there. But yeah, each one of them will have a different effect, and they may be stronger or weaker against other kind of enemies. And going into the combat mode itself, it's okay-ish. I mean, this is most definitely not the core mechanic of the game, but exactly that is the point. I mean, this is something, let's just call it a means to an end. So you're supposed to be facing these encounters, so you progress through the dungeon. The dungeon is the real enemy here. So the combat is simple. You got your attack button, you got your parry button, and that's pretty much it. And you don't really need anything else. Combat is as simple as that is. No branching talent trees or anything. Action stages are just short action bits against some enemies or against the boss, and that's it. So you keep progressing through the dungeon, and once you beat the boss, you are awarded with some tokens from the dealer, Tokens are what we would know as booster packs in card games. And the fun part about these tokens is that some events have a token attached to them, and whenever you win this event, it doesn't really count if you lose, so you have to win it. If you do win the event, you obtain the token for this event, and later on, when the match ends, the dungeon is cleared, then you get cards that are relevant to this event in particular, which may be, I don't know, for helping out this man, you encounter maybe a follow-up event that you can include later on your deck, or maybe some special weapon or special armor or extra food, whatever. I mean, there's many chances, many storylines, and many different opportunities. So yeah, And this is exactly where the game gets really interesting. This is where the game turned into a marvelous surprise for me, because of course, being a card game as it is, you do have some sort of deck building involved in the game. Before you start any dungeon, you are given control of the deck builder, where you can actually include all your, let's say, newfound spoils into the deck that you will be using on the next function. But here's the kicker. All this new loot that you have received, you will not know exactly what it does until you encounter it naturally in a dungeon. So of course, the discovery feeling of the game actually makes it all the more interesting to me. The same goes for the events. You have cards of events that you can include into your deck as well, and those are the kinds of events that you will encounter in the following dungeon that the dealer proposes to you. But of course, you will not have 100% full control of the events that will happen in the dungeon, because the dealer will have some cards himself mixed up into that. And as you are progressing through the dungeons, it becomes more and more difficult, because the dealer keeps adding extra rules and maybe punishments and blessings for you to deal with. And it actually is turning right now to be a rather complex game, dungeon crawling game, for what I was expecting, you know? I was just expecting a regular card game like, I don't know, let's say Hearthstone or the very well-known Magic the Gathering. But turns out that this is a really solid RPG by itself, and I am really, really surprised. And then let's focus a little bit on the dealer, okay? The dealer is supposed to be your enemy. In fact, you know that he's your enemy, but he feels like a friend. So, you know, he's not your friend, of course, because he's trying to kill you, but he feels like he's a friend, just playing a friendly game with you of whatever this game of murder and assassination is. But he reacts to your movements and your cards and your actions with witty comebacks, snarky remarks, or sympathy whenever you encounter a misfortune event, you know, stuff like that. One of the things that cracked me up when I was playing against him was he noticed that I was getting the same event on 3 games in a row, and he said, sometimes I think that you're getting this event into your deck because it's an easy way to get a shield. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. He was kind of leaning towards that tactic, so yeah, it was fun to see him react that way, you know? Very personal. I liked it very much. It actually gives the game a lot of life, you know. It's it's very fresh to start new dungeons and new games, and to see that the dealer keeps saying different things to keep the game mood alive. And not only that, I mean, the voice acting of the dealer itself is sublime. I mean, I don't know exactly who this actor is. I have to look it up later, but it is most definitely one of the highlights of this game. The voice acting is just wonderful. I love it. Overall, I mean, if you're already a fan of card games, I already recommend you to get this game, because you're gonna get the thrill of collecting cards and making your own decks and everything. It's a rather special and unique way of presenting you the card collecting game, you know? And on the other hand, if you're a fan of dungeon crawlers, RPGs, or anything in this sort, I definitely do recommend you to get this, because even though the card building and the deck building is an important part, the real meat of the game includes on the dungeon crawling and how you proceed with these events. So definitely, if you like Darkest Dungeon, you should definitely give this a try at the very least. At the point of I'm recording this, it's still on the January sales. You can find it on the PSN for €5.99, I think. Or if you are more of a PC gamer, you can also get it on Steam. But the obvious question is, are you supposed to pay money for booster packs or something? And as far as I know, and as far as I have played, the answer is no. The money that you pay just brings you the whole game and everything. But there is an additional DLC, at least on the PlayStation 4, where you're supposed to pay for several kind of wildcards, which are modifiers that change completely your dungeon crawling experience. So maybe on one of them you're not supposed, or you're not allowed to take gold, or on another one you're weaker, I don't know, you know, modifiers to make the game more interesting, additional rules and filters to put over that. But for the vanilla experience, I definitely will recommend you that give it a try. So yeah, I know that I'm gonna be spending a lot of time on this game, and I'm pretty sure that I'm at the very least gonna beat it once. And you know how dungeon crawlers was, it's always inviting to come back and return and try different modes, and the endless mode definitely seems promising. So I know that this game is gonna keep me busy for a long time, but I'm rambling already, and you probably already had enough from me. So if you want to give it a try, Hand of Fate is available on PS4 and Steam. I'm not really sure if there is an Xbox One version, but it's definitely worth attention. So massive kudos and a huge thumbs up to Defiant Development, which are the developers of this game. Thank you for this game. Keep up with the development. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm sure that a lot more people are enjoying it as well. Ciao!
A bold woman, this one. She did not collapse when the Empire did. No, she took up arms, organized her people, and vowed that in a country where death had gathered, she would be the one dealing it.